Hey guys, so real quick, we're going to make a quick invoice. Invoices are important whenever you're charging someone for a, shall we say, service, a freelance service. This is one of those things that you create in order for your records and for their records, because anytime you make a purchase, say for instance for your business, you can put that on like your taxes for a business expense, and you can write that off. And obviously, whenever you file your taxes, you want to make sure you're keeping everything above board, and so you have like written sort of like a confirmation of the business transactions that you made, so everything kind of pulls out right. And this is important, maybe not necessarily for your own filing of your taxes, but just in case someone wants to ask you about your taxes, because that happens from time to time. So instead of using our web large, we're going to go ahead and just make a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper here. One of those things we can easily print off. And there's a couple things we need for every little invoice. Let me just real quick make a little rectangle here, and I'm just going to just real quick kind of put this over here. And I'm going to color this, say for instance, red, and I'm going to just go over here to my width, and I'm going to see if I can't, let's see here, I'm going to real quick go over here to edit, preferences, and units, and I'm going to ask my general units to be put in inches here. So hopefully that will give us, okay, that's like here, 8.5 inches. How about this? We can do like 8 inches over here, and over here we can do 10.5 inches over here as well. All right, that'll give us a sort of like a little quarter. I'm going to go here and get my rulers. So I'm going to go to View, Rulers, and I'm going to Show Rulers. I'm just dragging a guide here just to give myself a 1/4 inch margin on each side. So that's a good way of doing a quick margins here. Let me just real quick drag this down, and I can go ahead and get rid of this rectangle here. All right, so let's go ahead and just make a quick logo for ourselves. So I'm going to just real quick create a little rectangle here, and I might round off the edges, and I'll just offset this like twice by, say for instance, negative 5 pixels, or maybe 10 pixels here. 10 pixels, and I'll just do that one more time. Offset path, okay, and we'll just oops. We'll just see if we can't do this here. And what we'll do here is, let me just take off the stroke for just a second here, and I'll just real quick make a quick series of text things here. I'll just say, Lobello graphic design, and I'm just gonna grab this and obviously change the font from Myriad Pro to something else. Let's change it from Myriad Pro to, say for instance, something sans serif, something big and clean. And I'll just even everything out here just to get everything fit into the same kind of space. And we'll just pull this together. Let me just real quick raise this up here. Oops. And I'll just raise this up a little bit. And I'll just grab this whole thing here. Make sure it's centered. And create outlines, go to type, create outlines. A on the keyboard, hold down shift, grab this inner circle here, and minus front. And we'll just position this right over here up against our margins. Let's unify this. All right, I'll just put it right here in the margins. Okay, so we have our design here. Let's go ahead and make this black, just because it's going to be printed off. And over here, let's just type in the same font the word invoice. This is proper titling is real important, just so you know what you're looking at. Make it pretty big. Make it like a good chunk of size. At the very least, you could make it 72 points, like 1 inch high, or you can make it very close, right? And then down here, let's just make a little box and just call it, give your name of your business. In this case, it's Lobello Graphic Design. You can make it your own business. You can name it something else. If you like, if you make it a little more personalized, that's fine too. And we'll just kind of put in like a little, fake address here, P.O. Box 963, New York City, New York State, 10108, right? Okay. And we'll just sort of line all this up to the left and drag it in here. Okay. So we'll just put that there. All right. So a little fake address for your business. And let's put in a couple other key pieces of information here. So we want to make sure that the person knows what they're buying, and we want to know each one of these things. We need to know who it is that we're doing business with, right? So we'll just go down here and we'll just drag a couple of these text boxes out, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, just kind of like give it some hierarchy. I'm going to say bill to for the first little thing, and I'll just put a couple little lines down here below this just to kind of give us a bit of a guide for where they're going to write your information. Or if you want to, like, make this into like an editable PDF, you can do that. And I'll just do a couple little lines here, right? It's just for like name and address. And pull this down. Pull that down. And then we'll just drag all this over a little bit. And we'll call this one ship to. So whenever you're doing something, you tend to put things into categories, either something that's going to be a something that you ship, or something that you just have created for them to review or whatever. So not something that's going to be for them to be consumed. And we'll just put a couple little pieces of information here as well. We'll just put down our invoice number, and let's just kind of move over here and just call this one number 1. But we're going to give ourselves a little sort of naming convention. We'll call it LGD, because this is Labello Graphic Design, and I'm going to say 0001, right? So I'm looking forward to making at least 1,000 different designs. So I'll just put this over to the side, or against the thing there, and then we'll just sort of drag this down some, and we'll call this one invoice date, and we can just put down, say for instance, 01/16/2020, right? MMDDYYY as it goes. Just real quick, center these, and then we'll drag all this down one more time. And we'll call this one purchase order. And essentially this is all for like internal records for whoever is working with this, because essentially what they're working with, you just give yourself some sort of filing convention here. And we'll give it a series of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And then lastly, we'll put in due date, just because this is like one of those things we put in place. Due date, and say for instance this will be due within a week, so we'll call it 01/23/2020, just a fake due date for this fake thing that we've made. Okay, so let's real quick make sure all this stuff is lined up onto one side, and all this stuff is lined up to the other side here, and that all these things are centered. All right, very nice. Okay, and I'll just go ahead and just take these things as well, and I'll just drag them down to where they line up with this. Oops. We'll group this together. All right, so there's that, and then let's put in a couple little markers down here. Let's make this a bit bigger. I'll just drag this guy down. I'll drag this one down, and I'll make it slightly bigger. And I'll put in the words quantity, and then we'll just drag this over here and call it description. Then we'll drag it a little bit over here. We'll call this one unit price. And then we'll drag this one over here, and we'll call it amount. So let's do this. Let's think about what we're going to charge and what we're going to use to charge it here. I'm going to just real quick grab a line. I'm just going to drag this across here. Hold down Shift while I do it. And I'll do another one right here. Just hold down Shift while I do it. And what I'll do is I'll just select these 3 here, and I'll use this as the key object. And I'll just see if I can't distribute this as far as the spacing goes. That's good. Cool. All right, neat. All right, so what we want to do is we want to kind of let's make a couple of examples here. I'm just going to click once, and I'll just drag this one down here just to, and let's say maybe for instance this person ordered 1, and then we can just drag this down here like logo design, right? Logo design, and say for instance you charge $200 to design a logo, right? And you think into mind the idea of like the number of hours you put into it, and we'll just put $200 there, and then we'll just drag all this stuff down one more time just to give ourselves like a bit of an idea as what else we might be doing. And maybe for instance he also ordered 2, mailer layouts. Like for instance, he wants to send a bunch of postcards and stuff, and the postcards each costs, like for instance, in this case, it takes a little more effort. So maybe each time you do one of these little mailers, you charge instead of $200, maybe you charge $250, right? So it's $250, and then all told, that's like $500. And then maybe for instance, you have one more thing that he orders from a designer. Maybe for instance, this person also wanted you to design his catalog, right? And the catalog itself is, several different pages, right? And then you charge like $400 for a whole publication, right? So in order to make all the layouts and arrange all the posters, you charge $400 for that, right? So that's $400. Okay, and then finally we put down here at the very bottom, I'll just drag one of these guys down. We put down our total. And we can drag down this number here, add all this together, $700 plus $400, that's $1,100. So we can just put down here, right? And okay, so that's the long and short of what we're going to put down for what he needs to know. And we can put down here at the very bottom, like for instance, we'll maybe change this to like subtotal here, subtotal. And then down here, maybe we put down like, for instance, sales tax. So let's look here, sales tax. I think in Georgia is around 6% or so. Let me just real quick put these down here. And then we'll just put down sales, 6.5% for sales tax. And that'll be sales. And then from there, we can do something like put the whole total here. So the sales tax about 6.5%. Let's look at it's a little math here. So 1,100 times 6.5 times 0.065. 1,100 times 0.065. That's $71. So it'd be 50 cents. So the total would be $11.70, 50 cents. Total. We can just line all this stuff up to one side here. Very cool. All right, so let's go ahead and make this your own. See if you can't, if you want to rearrange things, maybe you want to put like this over here on this side, and this over here on this side. Maybe if you want to like change the way the font looks or something like that, that's one of those things you could do. If you want to, for instance, change what it is that you've put on here. Maybe you want to do like a photo session or something like that. Think about your own thing. Again, well, think about what we talked about when it comes to things like how the government's going to sort of divide up your assets once you start like doing like the 1099 form and stuff like that. But go ahead and export. Let's go ahead and save this as a copy. Save this as a PDF. So the idea here, instead of it being a .ai file, I can open this on a computer somewhere else, and I'll just call it invoice template last name. Pardon me. And yeah, we can just go from there. So right, so that's how you just make a little invoice here. You want a couple things. You want to make sure that you've got your papers in order. So you want to make sure you give yourself like a series, like a number of different invoices. You want to give yourself a date of putting out the payment requirement. You want to give yourself a little purchase order number. Give yourself like a kind of like something for your files where you can log all this in, and then give yourself a little due date here for whenever you're going to turn it in. The idea is expected and stuff, right? So obviously in this case we're designing all manner of things in a week. This might be one of those things that you know this is made up. All right. Anyways, so this is an invoice. I hope you know at some point you get to do something like this. I hope at some point you get to give yourself the opportunity to design something for somebody, and that someone is into doing what it is that being a part of your business. All right, very cool. Wish you guys the best of luck. Can't wait to see you guys produce. See you.